If you would have a beer with an entrepreneur, what would you recommend? In which area would you recommend the entrepreneur goes into, and maybe why? Like from an investor perspective, would you say go here because it's established market, easy sales cycle, or I mean, you know,
Yeah.
what would you recommend?
I would say that the analytics market is still early. It's one where there's still a lot of opportunity. It's one where it's still a very big prize, and it's quite frankly, I mean, you see it. It's easy to beat SAP at times. It's easy to beat Oracle. Now, look, they can be partners, but their old technologies in ETL, their old technologies in reporting or BI just don't cut it because, I don't want to single them out, but many of the large public companies out there are creaking with technical debt,
Right.
and it's getting even creakier over time. So who's going to be the new entrant? Who's going to be the new companies to be able to land grab each of these huge markets? So analytics, I think, still has a interesting opportunity. Data management, our view is that the giants may have formed, even though they're not incredibly big right now. But on the Hadoop side, it's pretty clear you have Cloudera, Hortonworks, MapR. On the NoSQL side, DataStax, Mongo, Couchbase. I think that you have to think of those are of new IT religion, and I think the new religions have been formed. So
And it's SQL versus NoSQL.
that's right.
Yeah.
NoSQL versus SQL, post-relational versus relational, but you also have Cloudera and Hortonworks and MapR, which is kind of the new enterprise data warehouse instead of, as you always say, instead of ETL, ELT.
Yeah.
I do think that the app side, that's where I would actually, if some entrepreneur said, where should I start something? Well, first I would say, what's your domain expertise?
Right.
Because you need to start there first. But if you have equal opportunity to be able to help start a company in one of these spaces, the apps is the next evolution.
And what's a blueprint for entrepreneur? I mean, you have a lot of experience. You start from the inside. You start from the investor side. I just had a phenomenal exit from MIT and maybe even have an MBA or whatever. I have nothing of this. So people have a great backgrounds. They are coming out of, I don't know, the Facebooks of the world. What's kind of the blueprint to build then a more enterprise software company coming out of consumer software that build it, big data backends?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. I think of it as the following. There's an evolution in a company's life, right? And the easiest way I would describe it is feature, product, company, platform. Once in a while, something becomes a platform. But usually a company will be started out as a feature. And that's kind of the 0 to 1. How do you even get to revenue? How do you even get to product market fit? And the most important aspects behind that is what I would say is rough market, whether it's cheaper, better, faster, or is a brave new world, right? Are you doing something different, or are you just doing something that's 10 times cheaper? It's got to be one of those, but you kind of choose a market. Hopefully you have a team or your own domain expertise where you say, you know what, I have an unfair advantage on taking on this market because either my domain expertise, because of the team that I have, or it's just we've been working together, but we have, it's usually some combination of that. But it's a very strong team that it's on a mission to be able to build something together. That analogy of everyone being in the boat and rowing at the same time. But you got to be pointing in the right direction, right? So that I would say you get from nothing to feature. And then when you go to feature to product, that's really to be able to say, okay, how do we get to product market fit? Particularly in enterprise, which is, I would say, a little bit different than consumer. Consumer, you may build an app. It may only take you, 1,000 man hours, maybe less, and it just hits, right? Look at a lot of the gaming companies.
Yeah.
A lot of the gaming companies, they just hit. Enterprise, there's a lot of considerations, right? Who are the stakeholders involved? What are you actually trying to solve? How are you doing it 10 times different? And I think it's a composite picture, much more complex and much more, in general, capital intensive. But that is the next evolution beyond just being able to put a team and go after market. That's the 0 to 1. The 1 to 10 or 1 to 20 is, do I taste product market fit? Do I understand the customer? And then from there, have I architected the right product and people in place to be able to take it there?